Okay, I am here in 2.3 day 2 Google form. Here's a reminder of the order of operations. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Parentheses, exponents, then we multiply and divide from left to right, and we add and subtract from left to right. All right, so here number one, we're going to solve this one-step equation. So as you can see, it says solve for f. F is on the left side of the equal sign, and it's being divided by 5, right? That's what the horizontal fraction bar means. So this is f divided by 5. And to undo division, what would we use? What would be the opposite of division? Multiplication, right? So I would need to multiply both sides of this equation by this number in the denominator. So I need to multiply the left side by 5. So I'm going to put 5 dot and then negative 8 dot 5. The dot is, of course, multiplication. So what happens on the left side is that this is 5 times this. Okay, so it's like 5 over 1 times this. And I have a 5 in the numerator and a 5 in the denominator. And so what we say here is these simplify to 1. So I'm only left with just f, right? F equals this, negative 8 times 5. So different signs negative. 8 times 5 is 40. So f is negative 40, which makes sense, right? If I put a negative 40 right here in for f, isn't negative 40 divided by 5 negative 8? Yes, it is. Okay, so we undo division by multiplication. So the same thing is going to happen here in number 2. Undo this division by multiplication. You would multiply both sides of the equation by this number in the denominator. Number 3, we're going to solve for t. This is negative 18 equals negative 3 times t. Notice how I read this, negative 3t. I have a number, negative 3, written right next to a variable. That is understood to be multiplication. So this is negative 3 times t. So in the previous problem, we undid division by multiplication. How would we undo this multiplication? What would the opposite of multiplication be, or the inverse of multiplication? It would be division, right? And so I'm going to divide both sides by some number, and that number is going to be whatever number is in front of the variable. Whatever number here is in front of t, and that is not 3, that is negative 3. That number right there is negative 3. I know that because of the negative sign. So I'm going to divide the right side by negative 3, and of course the left side by negative 3. Okay. Now what happens over here on the right side is that if I have a negative 3 in the top and in the bottom, those simplify to 1. Okay, so I'm only left with t equal to this stuff. Negative 18 divided by negative 3. I'm going to use my multiply divide rules. Same sign's positive. 18 divided by 3 is 6. So t is equal to 6. And that makes sense, right? Because if I put t right in here or if I put the 6 in for t, this is negative 3 times t. So negative 3 times 6 is negative 18. So here number 4, very similar to number 3, 2f, so 2 times f equals negative 12. So 2 times what number is equal to negative 12? So again, undo this multiplication by division. You would divide both sides by 2 to get your answer. Okay, here number 5, it says the quotient of the opposite of 30 and 6. So remember, quotient means division, right? It's the answer to a division problem. So I want the quotient of the opposite of 30. Isn't that negative 30? Yep, that's the opposite of 30. I want the quotient of negative 30 and 6. So negative 30 divided by 6. That would give me the quotient of negative 30 and 6. Then it says plus, I'm going to put a plus sign, plus the opposite of 8. So the opposite of 8 is negative 8. Okay, now I'm just going to follow order of operations to solve this. So I need to divide first, which would be this stuff right here. Negative 30 divided by 6, that's negative 5, right? Because they have different signs, I would say negative 30 divided by 6 is 5. So negative 5, and I still need to add negative 8. So I'm going to put plus negative 8. Okay, now I'm adding, right? Negative 5 plus negative 8. I'm going to use add rules. Same signs add, keep the sign. So same signs add. 5 plus 8 is 13. Keep the sign. So negative 13. Negative 13. Okay, I'll set number 6 up for you, and then you finish solving by order of operations. So it says the quotient, that's division, the quotient of 12 and the opposite of 3. So 12 and the opposite of 3. The opposite of 3 looks like this, negative 3. Notice how I put a horizontal fraction bar to show division, right? I'm dividing 12 and the opposite of 3. So 12 divided by negative 3. Okay, then it says plus, so I'll put my plus sign. The product, what's product mean? Well, if quotient is the answer to a division problem, the product is the answer to a multiplication problem. So I want the product of the opposite of 14, that's negative 14, and 4. So I'm going to put these in parentheses, negative 14 and 4. I'm going to put them in parentheses to show multiplication. Okay, now you finish solving by following order of operations. Okay, look at number 9 here. In number 9, I have negative 6 times negative 2 divided by 4 times negative 3. Okay, so I'm going to multiply and divide from left to right. So I see this first. What's negative 6 times negative 2? That is 12, right? I still need to divide by 4 and multiply by negative 3. Okay, now remember, I am multiplying and dividing from the left to the right. So I need to do the first thing that I see. And the first thing that I see on the far left is this, 12 divided by 4. I have to do that first. 12 divided by 4 is 3. Then I can multiply by negative 3. 3 times negative 3 equals negative 9. Okay, so negative 9 is my answer. So be sure here you're multiplying and dividing from the left to the right. Number 10, I'm going to compare here. Compare the quotients. So negative 16 divided by negative 4, same signs positive. 16 divided by 4 is 4. So the left side's 4. Now let's see the right side. 16 divided by negative 4, different signs negative. 16 divided by 4 is 4. So I get negative 4. So which of these is bigger, 4 or negative 4? You should say 4, right? So I need the greater than symbol. So do the same thing in number 11. Number 12, be sure you go multiply and divide from left to right. Okay, once you submit, view your score, and click Edit Response to fix the ones that you missed so that eventually you get every problem correct.